Good morning. Um, can y'all hear me? I t- Hopefully the mic level is a little better today. Um, there's also some noise coming from the hallway. They're installing a floor, and down on the street, they're jackhammering the sidewalk to install some lights. But we'll power through it. Um, Thank you for tuning in. We are going to make a web page today. Um, so the idea is to build this web page. We're going to make this page, which is a landing page for a fictional startup or thing entity, and this is how it looks on mobile. It's got this sort of hero image, some paragraphs, some numbers here. I'm going to animate these with the hot effects component, and then just some rows of stuff, a testimonial. These logos will be in a row. These cards will be in a row, and yeah, should be pretty fun and easy. Just got to log in to the hot page editor. Gonna do a new page. Call this landing page demo. Save it at demos landing page. And then if you open it, you can see this is what it's going to look like. Let's get it on the other side of this tab. New split view with current tab. So now I'm editing this page and looking at it over here. And at the top, looks like I can't copy that. Let me see if I can grab it from the other window in Figma. If you're not logged in, Figma doesn't like to let you do very much. So I think I have that text. Boom. Boom. Hotpage is the most advanced HTML and CS editor that has ever existed in any parallel universe. True. So on this page, looks like the top looks pretty black. There's this pink color and this blue color, which kind of repeat themselves, although maybe this is a slightly different shade of blue. In any event, I'm going to need a pink variable to not have to repeat that one, or if we want to pop it out, switch it out a couple times. So that pink color has a hex code, and I will add it as a custom property on the HTML element. Pink, you can call it, and it's a color, so it's a hex color with the pound and then the 6-digit hex code for this color. Then this blue, this is disorienting because I can see my own cursor on Figma from a different window, but that's how that works. Blue, and this other blue looks like it's the same one, so we're good to go. So how does this start? Starts with this row at the top, homepage, features, and contact. Let's do it. Homepage, features, contact. So these are going to have to be in another element because they're all in a row. By default, HTML puts block elements like a div or a p one on top of the other, and we can change that by giving this display of flex, and then flex flow row no wrap. Now they're also, so the P tags have margin on them. So I'm actually just going to change these to an A, which will be used for a link. So for now, I'm just going to put the link that they're linking to the homepage, and then people can, if they ever want to customize this thing, they can change it. So this is also a link, and it will go to the homepage. So also we want to create some space in here. On the design, features and contact are on the right, and then the homepage is on the left. So how do we do that? First of all, we can add gap, and then we'll get some space between all of them. But we also might, if we want these two on the left, we have to wrap them, and then do a justify content space between. Now if we want space between features and contact, instead of doing gap, let's change, do it margin. No, I'm gonna do, just on this one, I'm gonna add an inline style margin right 16 pixels, and there we go. So obviously these, instead of being a div, I'm going to make this a header, since that's what it is. Header is a HTML5 semantic element, and then we don't want these to actually look like links. So color, well, they're going to be white, but in order for them to see them now, we're going to have to make this black, like it is in the design. So I'm going to add background black, and the header, these links, they get text decoration none, and the body has a margin on it, which is why you see this space around the whole thing. So I'm just going to take that off. And we'll have to add something back in that sets like a sort of a max width on this thing. Let's see. So it looks like this width of all the content on the page is the same, except for this thing. But it looks like the left side of this is at the same, hard to say. I would say yes, the left side of this image, or the right side of this image, is in the same size as the width of all the content on this page. So that's probably about 1,000 pixels, I'm gonna guess, or maybe more, like 1,200 or 1,400. So in any event, since we're going to set this in various places, well, in this one it could all be the same, and in this one it could all be the same. So maybe I will just create a class that's container and give it max width 1,300 pixels, margin inline auto, and this is the top of the page. So I'm just gonna, in order to remember that, I'm just gonna type hero, and then this goes inside of it. The hero is what really has the color white. So just to clean up here, I'm gonna say color inherit. That way, if I change the color of the hero later, we'll be able to do it in both places. So this hero, well, hold on a second. So the hero is black. Inside, these things are inside of it, and they get container to constrain their width. So if you zoom out on this page, you'll see that they're now they have this on the side, so they're not they have this space on the side. They're constrained from getting too wide. Let's see. So this looks like it's pretty much almost split in the middle, but the left side is a little bit wider than the right side. And this is like sticking out a little bit into the other side of the page. Anyway, let's get all this text in here, and then we'll be able to figure out where it goes. So it says, hey, a call to action. It says, I'm on the foreground. I'm on the background. And then I can also drop in this dude. And these three things are wrapped in something that we could, well, I'll name it later. This is a button, which is actually going to be an anchor tag, because presumably it goes somewhere. It's just a link. Let's see. If we want these two together and on the other side of this thing, how do we do that? This can be wrapped. So this container, let's give it display grid, and then grid template columns is how you create a 2-column grid. So I'm going to say it's 3 FR, 4 FR. So they're almost the same. There's actually 4 FR, 3 FR. So this is like fractional space remaining. So the left side is 4/7 of the space, and the right side is 3/7 of the space. Maybe I should have picked a better whole number fraction, but that's what we got. It's almost the half, and it's 1/7 over to the side. The header wants to be the full width, so we do grid columns. Grid column, I always mess that one up. 1 minus 1 is that it goes on the full width, so you can see it here. If it, now it's taking up the full width, and we have this text on the left and the button. These two are on the right with the image. So this button is, let's do the button. Its background is var pink. It has no text decoration. None. It's got padding. It's probably about 1.5 M's. M is the size of the font. So if I increase the font size on this, it will increase the size of the padding. The color is black. The border radius is what's going to make the corners curved. And if we set that to 1,000 pixels, it just brings in the corner. So interesting thing about border radius, if you set it to 50%, it turns it into an ellipse. But if you set it to 1,000 pixels, you would think it would do the same thing because it's just making the radius infinite. But if one of the radius, what it does is it makes a square radius. So if this can't be any more curved because it's only so high, it will set the other radius to the same. And that's our button. You know what really bothers me about this is the font. Let's get the better font in here. This design is using Lato. So I'm just gonna drop this on the body. And oof, that's a lot better. That really helps. So this looks like the line spacing on this is a little bit higher. I can tell because it just looks a little like the lines look a little too close together. So line height 1.3, something like that. That looks better. So on mobile, we now have a thing. So if in the sort of the flow of the document, this comes first and then this, because they are put on the same line in the grid. But if you look in this one, this comes before this thing. And you can, so first of all, we need to get rid of the 2-column grid and make it a 1-column grid, and then we need this image to be above the other thing. Let's see if we can pull it off. This is the grid. So at a certain screen width, max width, say 1,000, let's say 900. We're going to say grid template columns and just one FR, and now they're on top of each other. The issue is this one needs to be above. So we can do that by copying the same media query and saying grid column, no, grid row, and it's going to be 2. So now it's on the second row of this thing. How about that? You know what, this header needs padding. That is really bothering me. Is it 16 pixels vertically, 32 pixels horizontally? Looking pretty good. I really want this. I think this blue background behind this dude will help a lot. So if you notice, his hair is sticking up outside of this rectangle, and this rectangle is curved. So I think in order to do that, we have to first wrap this thing, and then we can drop this thing in here, and this will be our blue box. How do we make that? So if you know about absolute positioning, it does a lot of things. In CSS, it's usually creates a lot of confusion. It ends up being a source of errors and weird stuff, but sometimes it's exactly what you need. So this is going to be position absolute. It's going to have a blue background. And in order to position it, so right now we can do with the 100% height, 100%, and it's gonna be huge. And the reason it's huge is because 100% is the width or height of the thing that it's containing, which is, in this case, the body, I'm pretty sure. But if we want it to be contained within this image, we can set position relative on the image, and that becomes the parent of the thing that contains it. And then in this case, we also need to put it at the top. Although in the design, it's maybe 10% from the top, and then his hair is sticking out. Now we need the guy on top of it, so for him we give him position relative and z index 1. This z index will not work unless it has position relative. Go figure. These are tricks of the trade. The other issue with this is it's too wide. So on the parent, I'm going to do width fit content. Now we are right at that guy's sleeve, although looks like there's a little space on it. So we could give it some padding horizontally, so 0 vertically and maybe 32 pixels horizontally. This image, why is that not in the middle? It's this thing that's not in the middle, because it needs left 0. You know, instead of all of these, I might just do inset 0, except we wanted top 10%. So inset is the equivalent of doing top, right, bottom, left. This is also a curved rectangle, so we're going to give it border radius, I'm going to say 30 pixels. And there we have a curved blue rectangle square underneath our dude. Now, one of these is pink, one of these is white, and they are also in this sort of, in the mix of this setup here. So I think these probably need to be inside of here. The one on the foreground, it has color of pink, or no, it's a background of pink. And the color is white. The question is, where did it go? It must be, so this is on the foreground, so I'm going to do position, relative, z index 3, there it is. And it's going to be, position absolute is better. And this needs some padding, say 16 pixels, is that about right? Actually has like quite a bit of vertical or horizontal padding. So I'm going to say 48 and 16. That looks a little bit better. And this has also has border radius, though it looks like it's less than the one on top. So I'm going to do maybe 16. you know what, all this is the same for both of these. So instead of repeating it, just copying and pasting it, because I might want to change it later and it'd be better to have it all in one spot. I'm going to put a selector here for P, and then we get both of them to have this position absolute. This one is going to get z index 1, and then this should be 2, and then this one, the foreground, this z index should be on this one in the foreground, and it's going to be 4. So we have, this is 1, well, this is 1, this is 2, and then this is 3. But where is this one in the background? It's probably behind the image, so we need to position it top 0, there it is, and we need a background on this, background white, color black, there it is. Top 0, I'm going to say right 0, right, no, I'm going to say left 100%, maybe 80%. Looks closer to what we're doing, where we want to put it. So this thing, in general, I want to center it now. Margin auto to center things. So if we look at the mobile one, this is what we're going for. And using absolute positioning, I'll need to have this stick out almost all the way. It's so, if you say left side is 100%, the left side will match up with the right side. But we need it to pull it back a little bit. And same with this one. You could say right side 100% and it would be over here, but we need to pull it back. Or we could say left side minus 100 pixels or something. This one could be right side minus 100 pixels. Let's try that. So right minus 100 pixels. And then I think we need, in order to compensate for that and make sure it's not going to go off the screen, we need to go add some padding 100 pixels. So now there's like space here on the right side for it to pull to the side. This one on the foreground needs left minus 100 pixels. In this case, it could probably be bottom 50 pixels. Not bad. This one needs top 50, might as well be, oops. This one needs top 50 pixels so that it's a little bit higher, a little bit lower from the top. And really these have even more padding. So I added 100, so they're now sticking quite close to the edge, but I want some space there. So I'm going to make this 150, and then there we are. It's kinda too small now. Let's say maybe this could be minus 80. This could be minus 80. And then we could do less padding. This could be 120. Looks better. This one on the background, it is kind of hidden by his shoulder. interesting thing about these is maybe they have a width set in order to make them wrap. Let's do that. Width 5, what would it be? 180 pixels? About that, yeah. Not bad. What else about these? What is that? The text is the same. I think it's like pretty good. I feel good about that. Let's get some padding on this one. So this is too close to the edge, so I'm gonna add padding. 32 pixels. Pretty good. This button needs a bigger font size. And can I increase the sound? I can try. Does everyone else have the same problem? This is the consistent complaint. How is that? That could be a lot. Is that boop 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 boop? No, it's not changing anything. How about that? Did that change anything? How about that? Is that louder? Someone help me out here. Maybe I should just talk louder. Okay, well that button is too large now. 24 pixels, looks good. We need space between these two, so I might just add some margin top on that. Did that work? So a link is an inline element by default. Oh, looks, you guys can't even see what I'm doing. How about that? A link is an inline element by default, so it won't have any, you can't set margin on it. But if I do display inline block, you will see that the margin now takes effect. Go figure. That can be quite frustrating. It's one of those things with CSS that's just like, you gotta know. If you know, you know. And if you don't, you better learn, because it's gonna drive you nuts. This looks like it's a thicker font, these ones at the top. Also, this is bold, and these look like they're bold. So let's add some font weight bold. And on this button too, pretty good. I dig it. And that's what it's gonna look like when it's on desktop. Oh, you guys wanna see that? Oops. And, you know, I don't love it. This container feels like it's too wide. Let's say like maybe 1200, 1100, 1000. I guess I was right. 1000 is the right one. Now this is all messed up. What is that? It's a lot of CSS is just making things work. You know, trying to get it to work in one size, trying to get it to work on another. Part of the issue here is that this is, it's too narrow, and then we also have this issue where this is peeking out to the other side, but that probably only happens on desktop, because once you're over here, these need to be, we made this one, and now we're trying to make it work for this size as well. And it looks like these two are sort of centered in the height, and not, it doesn't, this either has like margin on the top of it that makes him come down, that makes it lower than the top of his head. Let's do that. So if I do margin top, 32 pixels, really it's quite a bit more than that, 98 pixels. And then the issue here is this padding. So I'm gonna just pop that into the media query, so this will only be on mobile. And that actually gets us pretty close. I think I did put too much padding on this. How about 64? Looking good. This button does seem too big. So I'm gonna go with font size 20. And then this whole thing needs a bit of padding at the bottom. Padding bottom, 32 pixels, 64 pixels. How about that? Not bad compared to our design. Looks okay. Maybe there's more space. Make it breathe a little bit more. Let's do padding bottom 96 and padding top. No. If I do padding top here, that's not going to work. We need padding on this container, because padding at top on this hero will put space above the header, whereas we need space between the header and the content. I could put margin or padding bottom on the header, or margin or padding top on the content. Let's just add some padding top here. So it is in the wrong place. I'm on the container. The container has the header, so it has to go. Let's add margin bottom on the header. 64 pixels. There we go. Now it's breathing. Should we add some more stuff in here? So we got this thing, these logos. Let's do these texts. Let me see if I can copy it. And should be able to paste here. Good. So this is what it looks like when there's nothing controlling the output. Nothing styling these paragraphs. They go all the way to the edge of the screen. Very not legible at all. Let's wrap this thing. This is going to be a container, and now it has our max width on it. Let's wrap it again, and this is going to be, let's give this a grid. Display grid and grid template columns. Let's see, what is this? It's like, it's not quite half, is it? It's like right, half would be like right here, but this is kind of, all right, let's say it's half, which means equal columns. And then we need some space on this thing, so I'm going to do padding 64 pixels, and then 0. 0 for horizontal padding and 64 pixels for the top padding. And then to make these not go all the way to the edge, I'm going to add a width, a max width, 650 pixels, maybe 450 pixels. There we go. Now we have these numbers. Characters published, page views served, lines of code. Makes no sense, but let's at least do the design. So we need another column here and maybe some paragraphs inside of it. So this is, you know, let's say 1,000 burgers delivered. 3,564 French fries fried, and 397 milkshakes shaken. Each one of these is going to be wrapped. And this is going to be a row. Display flex, flex, flow, row, no wrap. There we go. Let's get some, let's say justify content space around. And that puts these this space between them. Now these are paragraphs, so they have margin on them, which seems less than ideal. Maybe it doesn't matter. But what we do want is to have consistent styles for each of these three things. So I'm going to give them all a class of like number container. And we can style that class right here. Okay. And I'm going to say display flex, flex flow column, and then align items center. I always forget this. Is it align content? No. Is it? Must be one of those. I think the issue is that. So what I want is this number to be in the middle. And I think the issue with that is that it's the full, this paragraph is by default the full width. So what we really want is, we could put another selector in here, P, width, fit content. Nope. Then is this, I bet it is align items. There we go. Now I want this whole thing to be in the center of this row, so it's not at the top but at the center. How do we do that? It would be align self center. There we go. Now the first paragraph here is the pink, is the number, which is big and pink. So if we do first child, we can do font size 32 pixels and color var pink. There we go. Now you might be saying, why didn't I put a comma here? And it's because I want to animate this number. I like how much space there is around these things, though. Let's say margin 0. And is this bold? That is bold. Are the numbers bold? They look bold. Looks good. So to animate these numbers, I have created a web component called counter. This is Hot Effects is our component library on HotPage, so you get these numbers animating. So how does this work? You copy this script and then we plop it into the head tab, and then we should be able to just turn these into a HotFX counter, and it is confused by this comma. So if we set that to no comma, then it'll work. So let's do P. This is HotFX counter, and this is HotFX counter. Now they're animating, and what I want on the top here, this is no longer a P, they're no longer P tags. So this first child thing is not really the right selector anymore. What we want here is HotFX counter. Now they're big pink numbers animating. They also want to be bold. So I'm going to copy this. I can drag this, and if I hold down the Alt key, it will duplicate it. It copies it from here to here, and that's pretty good. So just to show you that they animate, they are animating. And that is looking pretty close to this thing. The next is this row of images. Let's just drop a div in there. This is going to be a container as well. And I have these images sitting on my desktop. They are logos of our lovely tech company, big tech robber barons. So what is this? This is a grid. Might as well make them. So there's a question like when do you use Flexbox and when do you use grid? And I would say if you may wonder which is which, and if you want things to be the same size, you might as well use grid. So in this case, Flexbox is great for when it's a row of things and they're all different sizes. You can make them the same size by just setting them to the same size, but it's not what like you might as well just make a grid at that point. Grid template columns, repeat 5, 1 FR. And all you have to do is spell columns correctly, and there we go. Let's get some gap in there. Maybe some more. And then they're all kind of not in a line. These aren't totally in a line either, but something about this one feels a little wonky. This Oracle one is so high. So I think that is align items. Center. Boom. Maybe they need more space. I'm gonna breathe a little bit more. Yeah. Cool. Wow, we are almost done with this thing. That's amazing. I'm gonna publish it. It's just to have a save point. So if I look at this page, what is it? Hot dot page slash demo slash landing page. Not bad. This is all zoomed in, zoomed out because of the other side. Because of this one, because I zoomed this out to be able to have like a view of the desktop here. Alright, continuing down below. This is what do we got? We got this guy. Oh man, this little triangle could be difficult. Alright, help, I am trapped in a testimonial. Copy that. And paste it in here. And this is a container as well. And it's also going to be this could be a flex container, right? Oh, I didn't see this on the wow, we gotta handle this wrapping. Man, just when you think everything is going well, you forget about mobile. I'm gonna take care of that. So basically, if I zoom in on this again, and this turned ugly. So on mobile, let's say media max width 900 pixels. It's got to have grid template columns 1FR. Now it's dropping down, and this is the one that has max width. Let's say align, justify items, center, boom, now in the center. This one, so right now we were creating space by space around, but since this is now justified in the center, there's no space between these, so we gotta add some gap just to spread these out a little bit. I would say maybe a little more. What do you think? Does that look alright? Looks alright. I'd say maybe some margin on the top of it. So let's say 32 pix 0. Now this thing can breathe a little bit. And now these logos need to wrap to more columns. So we need another media query, max width 900 pixels, and grid template columns. They're in, it's a, oh wait, let me see this. So this is tricky. This is something you cannot do in grid because this one is in the middle. So it turns out we do need Flexbox on this. I picked wrong. I was lecturing you on how to pick grid or Flexbox, and I picked wrong. This is something, grid could do this. We would have to make this span 2, and then it would be like in 2 columns basically. But like, what if we added another logo in there? You would want it to be all aligned again. So let's do Flexbox. I'm just gonna start over here. Display, flex, and how do we make them wrap to a new line? Let's say the image, which is all of these images, width 300 pixels. Let's get some padding on this thing. 32 pixels, 64 pixels. So I said width 300, but these are not wrapping. Let's do flex, flow, row, wrap. Now they're wrapping, and they're actually 300 pixels is way too many. So 200, 100. What's going on there? 2,100, that's not gonna work. Row, reverse, that's not what we wanted. Wrap. Justify content. Center is what's going to make them in the center, and that's cool. And then gap can be a vertical gap or a horizontal gap. It's a double property. So if we want more space between these rows, we could do should be 48 pixels, 24. So now there's 24 between each one and 48 between each row. And that looks all right. Maybe 32. That looks pretty good. I might, since this has padding, this has padding below it, and then this has padding above it, but it seems like that's adding up to like a decent amount of space. I guess we'll see what happens with this testimonial. How does this work on mobile? So this collapses, and this is just much smaller. So we could do this with could do grid or flexbox. It doesn't matter. Famous last words, but let's get this little robot face in there. I couldn't get this out of Figma properly. It was set as a background image. Maybe if Carlos is listening, you could send it to me as an image. I could not. In order to export it from Figma, I would have had to install a plugin, and I was not about to do that. So this testimonial, you can barely see it, can you? How about that? There it is. This needs background. Help if I spelled it correctly. Var blue. It needs padding. 32 pixels, 64 pixels horizontally, and it needs color white, right? It's black, but it's bold. Black and bold. Font, weight, bold. Div container. Let's add display flex. And there it is on the same row. We need align items center. And now it's next to it. And then let's get a little bit of a gap in there. 24 pixels. And then some padding on this thing. 32 all around. That looks alright. Are we getting close? Looks like the padding is not so much on this blue box, but on this one it is. So on mobile, the padding gets smaller. Media query, changing the rules for mobile, max width 900 pix, and then less padding. So padding 1632, something like that. Now, does that look right? Kinda. It's almost like it wants more padding when it's on desktop. Is that the one that's showing up here? No. So how wide is this screen? This page. This is looks like it's 700. So why would this one be the right? Max width 900. What is that? Oh, well, see, that's changing the padding at the top here. Something is weird. Cannot explain that. Okay. Alright, well, what else do we have here? This little triangle. So this triangle, you can make it in CSS. This is CSS magic that's going to happen right now. We're going to take this thing and make a before element. Content, not like empty. That's just what it does. You need to add some content, even if the content is nothing, just to make it look, just to make it appear. Display block, width 30, let's say 20 pixels, height 30 pixels, and then I'm going to do position absolute, and background bar blue, and you can see it's showing up here on the left, like it's covering this text. But what we want is to put it at left, put it at right 100%, top 0. So I kind of lost it. Oh, right. So it's right now it's probably off the screen, because what we need in order to position it absolute in relative to this blue box, we have to add position relative on the box. So now you can see this, it's this little rectangle that's poking out here. So I'm going to add top 50%, and then, so how do we make it into a triangle? We could use clip path, or we could use a border trick. I'm going to go with clip path. So there's something called clip path generator. This is the kind of thing that I would love to have in Hot Page. So what we need is this one. And how do I get this? Where is it? Here it is. Polygon. So if this existed in Hot Page, it would be amazing, because boom, you would just have this thing already there. could draw that on there. So it looks like there's like a 1 pixel gap here. So I'm going to say calc 100% minus 1 pixel, and then we get rid of that little gap. And then top, let's just say 30 pixels. Right auto, how did that happen? Right, that was the calc 100% minus 1 pixel. Boom. That's a little triangle. Let's see how this looks on mobile. Not bad. Getting close. So the last part of the screen is these pink cards with the white SVGs in them. And how do we do that? We need another element on here. This is going to be a container. And then gotta drop these icons in here. Boom. They're white, so you can't see anything. Let's wrap them in each in an element. This element's gonna get card class, so we can style it. And then we go in here and we start styling for the children. It's going to be background var pink. Boom. And then that looks nothing like it should, because these need to be on a grid. Display, grid, template, columns, 1 FR, 1 FR, 1 FR. It's a 3-column grid. Let's get some gap in there. And then what we need is, let's get more space here so we can see what's going on. Padding, 64 pixels, 32 pixels. So each card, in order to center there's a million ways to center things, but what we need is we need padding here, we need this text in the middle, and we need to center the SVG. Actually, everything in here is centered. How about that? So what if I grab this text? That should work. Didn't get the last one. There we go. So this goes here. Oh, this is search engine optimization. Goes here. Fast and reliable is with the clock. Drag and drop is with this thing. Drag this, drop that, and you're done. That's what we're talking about. This is sort of on like a mobile size. Let's zoom out. So this whole thing can get text align center. Now it's in the center. These need padding. Say 32.8. These should probably be like some kind of heading. H3, H4. So how about how these look? Looks like they're not totally aligned. They are kind of, if you wanted to align these, man, it would be tricky. You'd have to do subgrid, I think. I don't know. Well, I don't know. Anyway. Zoom out to get like a real desktop size. So, what is missing? say more padding. Each card could have 48, and since these are the P at the bottom is adding margin, which contributes to the padding, I'm just going to do P margin 0. Now there's a little less space at the bottom. I think these need more space on the sides. I don't want to do too much, but 12 pixels could be nice. And then these need a curved edge, so border, radius, let's go with 16 pixels. What do we think about that? Looks like they have more space in between them, and then on mobile they drop to one column. So that more space between them is gap, 48, 64, 48. And does it look like this, all this stuff is aligned? Looks like this is not totally aligned. Why is that? So if I look, it's the padding. So this has no padding. That's, I guess it's not actually a big deal because it's got max width. If you had a really narrow browser window, this would be an issue. So you know what? I'm gonna add on the container. I'm gonna add padding inline 8 pix, and hopefully all of these things will have it. In order to see it, however, I'm going to have to not override it by setting padding on this thing. So I'll do padding block 32 pix. Now they have 8 pixels padding on mobile. Well, yeah. Now all these are in a line. This is a nice line, and everything is in visual harmony except up here. That's not cool. So confusing. Why does this have space? This thing has padding, which it's this div that has the padding, and I don't want that, so we're going to do padding 32 pix 0. Of course we need it on mobile, but now this left line on the left is all, everything is in perfect harmony, except this guy needs to be like scooted over a little bit. Let's see. Certainly on mobile this is not ideal, so we can the issue with this is this container should have padding. It does. It has 8 pixels, but it's not really enough. Let's add some padding. And then we just need these cards to wrap, and we might be done. That might be a wrap. Wrap and we're wrap. At media, max width 900 pixels. Grid template columns 1FR, and there they are. Could set a max width on these so they don't get so squashed out. What would it be? 500? This gets me every time. Justify items center, but now they're not the same width. That's not cool. What if we do margin 0 auto? That center them? Yes, but same problem. Let's just do there we go. Justify items center. And we're happy. How about that? Well, I'm going to end it there. Thank you guys for watching. Here we made a landing page from nothing to something on Hotpage. And it looks alright. What does it look like? Looks like this. It's got this dude, he's quizzical, we're selling something, we got numbers that are moving, we got these cards, and a testimonial, some social proof, and you got it. Thanks everyone for tuning in, and